The first time she heard the little girl's voice, it didn't sound like a voice at all. It sounded like a crack in her armor. "I don't have a mama, can I spend a day with you, ma'am?" The words were soft, careful, like they were afraid of being rejected before they even reached her ears. Arya Murrah had built her life on not hearing things like that. At 38, she was the CEO of a global tech company headquartered in a glass tower that reflected the sky so perfectly it looked untouchable. She had board meetings, investors, quarterly targets, interviews, and an assistant who filtered her world so efficiently that even problems seemed to arrive in neat folders. Children did not belong in her schedule. But that afternoon, as she stepped out of her black car, the security team already scanning the surroundings, she heard it again. "I don't have a mama, can I spend a day with you?" Arya turned. The girl stood near the sidewalk just beyond the corporate entrance. She couldn't have been more than 7 or 8. Her hair was uneven, as if someone had cut it without a mirror. Her dress was faded yellow, too thin for the breeze that carried city dust across the pavement. She held a small paper bag in her hands like it was something precious. Security moved quickly. "Ma'am, we'll handle this." But Arya raised a hand. The girl didn't look frightened. She looked hopeful. That was what unsettled Arya the most. Hope was a dangerous thing to see in someone who clearly had very little. "What's your name?" Arya asked, stepping closer despite her assistant whispering that she would be late. "Mira," the girl replied. Her voice trembled only slightly. "I saw you on TV. They said you're the biggest lady boss in the city. And you look kind." Kind. No one had described her that way in years. "You shouldn't be here alone," Arya said gently. "Where are your parents?" "My mama died when I was little," Mira answered simply. "My papa works far away. He doesn't come home much. I stay at the shelter. But today is Mother's Day." The words hung in the air between them. Mother's Day. Arya felt something twist inside her chest. She had forgotten the date entirely. For her, it was just another Sunday buried under spreadsheets and strategy calls. "Why me?" Arya asked quietly. Mira shrugged. "You look like someone who would know how to hug." That did it. Arya had negotiated billion-dollar contracts without blinking. She had fired executives twice her age without flinching. But this small, fragile sentence hit her harder than any business crisis ever had. She looked at her assistant. "Cancel the 3 p.m. move the investor call to tomorrow." "Ma'am." "Do it." Then she turned back to Mira. "You can spend the day with me. But first, we need to talk to someone from your shelter to make sure it's okay." Mira's eyes widened as if someone had handed her the moon. "Really?" "Yes. Really." The day began awkwardly. Arya had never held a child's hand before. She wasn't sure how tightly to grip Mira's fingers, afraid she might hurt her, afraid she might seem distant. Mira's hand was small and warm and surprisingly steady. After confirming permission with the shelter director, Arya brought Mira into the office building. The entire lobby fell silent. Employees whispered. Phones paused mid-scroll. No one had ever seen their CEO with a child. Arya felt their stares but ignored them. Inside her private office, Mira stood near the floor-to-ceiling window, staring down at the city like it was a toy set. "Do you live here?" she asked. "No," Arya said with a faint smile. "I just work here." "Do you work all the time?" The question wasn't accusing. It was curious. "Almost," Arya admitted. Mira nodded thoughtfully. Maybe that's why you don't have kids. Arya froze. Children had once been part of her dreams. Long ago, before her mother got sick. Before she had to quit college temporarily to take care of hospital bills. Before she decided that success was safer than love. My mama used to braid my hair, Mira said softly, sitting on the carpet without asking. She sang while she did it. Even when she was tired. Arya found herself sitting too, heels discarded, back against the couch. What did she sing? Mira hummed a simple lullaby. It was off-key, imperfect, and beautiful. For the first time in years, Arya didn't check her phone when it buzzed. They ordered lunch, not catered executive meals, but simple pizza. Mira giggled when cheese stretched between slices. Arya laughed when sauce smeared on her crisp white blouse. After lunch, they left the office. Where do you want to go? Arya asked. Mira thought hard. Somewhere with swings. So they went to a park. Security kept a respectful distance, pretending not to watch as Arya pushed Mira higher and higher. Higher! Mira shouted. Arya laughed freely now. The sound startled her. It felt rusty, like a door that hadn't been opened in years. Other mothers sat on benches nearby, chatting casually. Arya felt like an imposter among them, in her tailored suit and designer sunglasses. But Mira didn't seem to notice. When Mira's small hands wrapped around her waist after climbing down from the swing, Arya felt something warm spread through her chest. Thank you, Mira whispered into her jacket. They walked past a street vendor selling cheap bracelets. Can I? Mira asked shyly. Arya bought not one, but 5. Mira chose a blue one for herself and carefully tied a pink one around Arya's wrist. So you don't forget me tomorrow, she said. As the day unfolded, Arya learned pieces of Mira's story. Her mother had died from an illness that treatment couldn't fix in time. Her father, drowning in debt, worked construction in another city. The shelter provided food and school access, but affection was rationed between too many children. I don't want toys, Mira said at one point. I just want someone to sit next to me when I eat. That sentence followed Arya like a shadow. By evening, they returned to the shelter. The building was old but clean. Children's drawings covered the walls. The director greeted Arya with gratitude and surprise. You've given her a day she'll talk about for years, the woman said quietly. Arya knelt to Mira's height. I had a good day too, she admitted. Mira bit her lip. Can I ask something? Yes. If I get good grades, and if I don't cause trouble, can I see you again? Not every day. Just, sometimes. Arya's throat tightened. Her instinct was to say no. Her schedule. Her responsibilities. Her carefully controlled life. But then she remembered the empty penthouse she went home to every night. The silence. The awards on shelves that no one touched. Yes, she said finally. Sometimes. Mira hugged her fiercely. That night, Arya didn't sleep easily. She kept thinking about the question, maybe that's why you don't have kids. The next week, Arya visited the shelter again. Officially, it was to donate funds. Unofficially, it was to see Mira. They read books together. They did math homework. Mira showed her a drawing she had made, 2 stick figures holding hands. One tall, one small. Above them was written, My City Mama. Arya swallowed hard. Months passed. The visits became regular. The company noticed changes in their CEO. She left the office earlier some evenings. She smiled more in meetings. She started a corporate program funding education for children in shelters. Investors praised her expanded vision. They didn't know the real reason. One rainy afternoon, Mira arrived at the meeting room in tears. "Papa isn't coming back," she sobbed. "He called. He says he can't afford to take care of me." Arya held her close as thunder rattled the windows. That night, she drove home with a storm in her chest. She had spent her entire adult life building something strong enough to survive anything. Yet she had never considered using that strength to build a family. The legal process wasn't simple. There were interviews, background checks, counseling sessions. Arya approached each step like a merger negotiation, prepared, focused, determined. But this wasn't business. It was vulnerability. "What if I fail her?" she asked the shelter director one evening. "You will," the woman said honestly. "All parents do sometimes. But she doesn't need perfection. She needs presence." The adoption took nearly a year. The day it was finalized, Mira wore a new yellow dress, not faded this time, but bright as sunlight. In the small courtroom, she squeezed Arya's hand. "Does this mean I can call you Mama now?" she whispered. Arya's eyes filled. "Yes," she said. "It does." Life changed in ways Arya never predicted. There were school projects cluttering the kitchen table. There were nightmares that required midnight comfort. There were messy art supplies, forgotten lunchboxes, and constant questions about everything from stars to why adults argue. Arya learned to braid hair badly at first. She practiced until her fingers moved with confidence. She learned the lullaby Mira's mother used to sing. They sang it together before bed. Board meetings still happened. Deals were still signed. But something inside Arya had shifted permanently. She no longer measured success only in revenue charts. One evening, years later, as Mira, now 12, worked on a science project in the living room, she looked up and said casually, "You know, that day outside your office I almost didn't ask." "Why?" Arya asked from the couch. "I was scared you'd say no. You look so important." Arya walked over and kissed the top of her daughter's head. "I was important," she said softly. "But I wasn't complete." Mira grinned. "You're still important." "Not because of the company," Arya replied. "Because of you." On the next Mother's Day, they didn't attend any events or ceremonies. They stayed home. Mira cooked a crooked, slightly burned pancake breakfast. "Don't complain," she warned. Arya laughed. "It's perfect." Later, they visited Th.